Good day, everybody. My name is Dana Massett with Ascend Your Soul and the Mindful Mama, and today I'm talking about trauma bonding. So, trauma bonding is a pattern, an unhealthy pattern that gets very addicting. It's chaotic, it's traumatizing, and it basically exists anywhere relationship exists. So, romantic relationships, friendships, parent child relationships, family relationships, even business partnerships. So, trauma bonding is basically where you start engaging in unhealthy behavior. So, it would be an example would be explosive fight and then explosive sex afterwards. Explosive fight, and then it goes into like the softening of like, okay, we're in a good place right now. So it's almost like you get addicted to that, the trauma of the explosive fight of it's basically kind of creating fear and instability and uncertainty into the relationship, and then something smooths it over for just a moment, and then it's almost like that safety of like, oh my goodness, everything is okay, I almost lost everything, I was almost abandoned, I was almost betrayed, but now we're okay and we're in a good spot. And then it just keeps happening. Explosive fight, traumatic behaviors, abusive behaviors, and then something brings it to this like soft foundation. So if I think back into my life with trauma bonding, I can even think about some friendships that I had in my teenage years that were trauma bonding, that were dramatic, that were toxic, but then something would happen, something good would happen, and we would be back together in a good place. I can even think about some business partnership relationships where there was some good things, there were some fruitful things in the relationship, but there was some abusive, toxic behavior. So it's like you're kind of in this dance of like, is this good? Is this bad? Is this a good opportunity for me? But it doesn't feel that good all the time. It's very confusing, and that's what keeps people stuck in these patterns for so long, because you're kind of mind fucked. It's confusing. You don't know what's good or bad, because in some moments it feels so good, and in some moments it feels completely awful. So I want you to think about for just a moment, think about some of your past relationships, even think about some of your current relationships, and just notice if you see any of those patterns of like the explosive chaos and then reaching that peaceful zone. Explosive chaos and then reaching that peaceful zone. And what this does to your nervous system is it really puts you in that fight, flight, and freeze, and almost a numbing state. So your nervous system is almost expecting this now, the over arousal to a peaceful state. And the thing is, why it gets addicting is that over arousal state, which is not healthy for us, becomes addicting because it's almost like adrenaline is released, anxiety turns into excitement, anxiety turns into peace. So you're in this, instead of kind of having like this peaceful energy of I'm grounded, I'm safe, I'm secure in this relationship, and this relationship is loving, supportive, and good for me, it begins to be over arousal and then down. Over arousal, and then you fall down and collapse. So you kind of need both to maintain yourself, to maintain the relationship. So no longer are you existing in like a neutral, peaceful state. You're either in one or the other state. So once you reach that over arousal, it's almost like you need that crash and burn and that chaos to bring you back down. So it's you're dancing in both of the zones. So trauma bonding is not something that you're going to exist in and know 100% it's not good for you, because there's good things that you're getting from it. It's addictive. It's fulfilling something for you at this point. So a lot of people say like, if you're in trauma, if you're trauma bonding, it's all of it's not good. All of it doesn't feel good, but that's not true. There's something about it that keeps you going back to it. There is good qualities about it that keeps you going back to it, but those good qualities almost have a false truth. a false sense of security. So those good qualities, it's almost like a wolves in sheep clothing. It's not truly good to its core, but something inside yourself is telling you that it is good. So I almost think about addiction in a sense of like drugs and alcohol. Even though your body knows that it's poison and you know that it's poison, there's something about it that keeps you craving it. So similar to trauma bonding. So take some time today and just examine your own current present relationships and just notice, is there any trauma bonding happening, and what's my part in it if it is happening? You know, what's the good parts that I'm craving, but what's the truth of the situation? And also just examine your past relationships. Has there been past relationships that have felt really good, but at the end of the day were really toxic and chaotic? Namaste.